This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at pm-podcast.com or send your emails to info@pm-podcast.com. Hello and welcome to episode number 165. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast. Nice to have you with us. Well, it looks like the economy is finally recovering. After a couple of years of going down, there are now many encouraging signs that indicate an upswing. And that means there are once again more projects going to be started and companies will start hiring project managers. If you remember, a few months ago we had a group of recruiting experts on the program who gave us their job search insights. Because I know that so many project managers out there are looking for a job right now, I decided to invite one of these experts, Tim Terrell-Smith from timsstrategy.com, back onto our program to present to us 30 ideas of a successful job search. Tim wrote, collected, and published these ideas as part of a book with the same name. But don't worry, we didn't bring Tim onto the program to sell you his book. We brought him here to talk about his ideas. The book itself is free. How do you keep your team up to date on all projects? Wrike's social project management software helps thousands of managers worldwide organize their project data in one spot and ensures the seamless collaboration of their employees. With Wrike, collaborating on multiple projects is as easy as navigating a social network. Keep your team members on the same page. Collaborate twice as efficiently as you did before. Start a free trial today at Wrike.com. That's WRIKE.com. You'll hear in the interview that while Tim's book is free, he also offers a real paper-based version, and as always, we are giving away 2 copies. One of these copies automatically goes to our premium listeners, and the other one is up for grabs for anyone. Are you interested? No problem. Just go to facebook.com/PM podcast and look for the announcement with the book giveaway and just add a comment. Anyone who leaves a comment on this book giveaway gets a chance to win. Which brings me to the winners of our last book giveaway. We had 2 copies of Elizabeth Harrin's book, Social Media for Project Managers, to give away. And the winners are, I'm definitely going to mess up that name, I know it. Kareem Shekhar was selected at random from among all the people who left a comment on Facebook. And from among our premium listeners, the lucky winner is Josephine Brooks from Surrey in England. Back to today's interview, which is really not much about project management at all, and more about how you as a project manager should go about when you are looking for a new job. So expect many ideas on how to manage the project of finding your next job, but not any tips on project management best practices. Tim's journey began in 2007 when he became officially unemployed. He writes, "It was joyful, stressful, freeing, exciting, and frustrating all at the same time. And in some ways, I needed to make a game of it." And he did. He began by looking at his unemployment as a challenge, and since then he has turned it into a system, complete with tools and techniques that he offers to everyone for free on his website. He has turned being unemployed into his career, and he is now a career coach and professional speaker. And now, get ready for that job interview and enjoy the interview.
The Project Management Podcasts feature interview.
Today with Tim Terrell-Smith, creator, speaker, and blogger at timsstrategy.com.
Hello, Tim, and welcome to the Project Management Podcast.
Thank you, Cornelius. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we've had you on a few weeks ago in an episode that I recorded at the PMI R&D chapter meeting, and you gave us your job search tips then. And I decided to invite you back because you have a book out called 30 Ideas of Successful Job Search. And this is the book that we want to talk about today. Why did you write that book? Maybe let's begin with that.
Well, the 30 Ideas book started out as an ebook, and it was kind of built off the blog. It took 30 ideas, which is what my site is all about, that I thought really would help job seekers have practical and easy to implement tools in their job search. Because let's face it, when we are in the middle of a job search, especially if it's our first one in a while, it's really a hard process. A lot of us really takes a long time to figure out exactly how to go about this process, and you need to break it up into small chunks. So for me, taking some of the key ideas and key perspectives from the blog and turning that into a book made my content more applicable and helpful for people. And so that's kind of how I got started.
All right. The book generally consists of 4 major sections, and those are the 4 sections that we want to go through and look at sort of on a high level. It all begins with job search strategy. Why do I need a job search strategy?
Well, one of the things that happens to you when you leave a company, whether you're laid off, fired, or leave on your own, is that you leave this comfortable and very structured environment into an environment that is only structured if you build it. So no one's telling you what time to wake up in the morning. No one's telling you what time to have lunch, who to meet with, when to stop your day. There's no natural built-in context for that. So if you don't build a strategy, you are going to be impulsive. And impulsive means you do what feels right. And in job search, you need to be efficient. And that's kind of really where my whole blog and concept started. It was on this concept of plate spinning, that you have lots of options of things to do during the day, lots of people you can network with. And if you don't sit down and decide what your objectives are and decide who your network is that you need to be networking with, you will end up doing a lot of really cool stuff, but not really progressing your job search. So it's about building a structure for what you do each and every day.
My listeners are all project managers, and they're used to creating project management plans, schedules, milestones, goals, so they're pretty savvy in that regard. But I think one item that we have to keep in mind during the job search, that once we have a strategy, once we have a plan, it still has to be flexible, right? Because things change and we need to be able to adapt.
Well, you definitely do. And you talked about the fact that project managers have that kind of built-in system. And I have met a few of them who definitely have it, but don't necessarily implement it because, like I said, they're now outside of the environment that they normally work. But they are the perfect people to be able to build themselves a strategy as long as they have kind of that outside perspective and know what the right things are to be doing. So, but I think that you're right. If they don't have flexibility built in, there are days when you do have to be a little more flexible. Sometimes a great opportunity will come up. But if your sole focus is reacting to the world and reacting to the networking market and doing what sounds interesting, you'll spend a lot of time being very active, but not necessarily building momentum and getting the right things done.
You mentioned the outside perspective, and one of the chapters in the job search strategy section is 10 reasons you should regularly read a job search blog. Let's take a look a bit at that. First of all, what is a job search blog? And maybe give us the top 2 reasons why we should read such a blog.
Yeah, not everybody is comfortable online, and it's one of the reasons I actually did self-publish the book so that I could have a more traditional way to reach people. But for those people who do search Google and do find information developed by blogs, one of the number one things you can get out of a blog is new ideas. Blogs are famous for really nice, deep, rich tutorials that help you through a specific thing, whether it's fixing a software problem on your computer or fixing a drain pipe on your house. So new ideas, I think, is really important. You get new thoughts about how to implement your job search, new ways to deliver your elevator pitch. So new ideas are, I think, one of the key ones. The other thing is you meet new people. People get a chance to meet me. I respond to every comment that I get on the blog. And as you start to comment on blogs and start to read them, you start to meet other people that are either career coaches or other job seekers. And it's a way to begin networking and starting to get to know other people who are either out there doing what you're doing, trying to find a job, or perhaps some influencers who might be able to help connect you with a target company.
Okay. Next big section in your book, the psychology of job search. What's that section all about?
Well, this is, I think, Cornelius, probably the most under-discussed aspect of job search. But to me, it is the most important because everything you do and say and experience in job search is affected by your psychology. And what I mean by psychology is that tie between your mind and your behavior. If you're not feeling good upstairs, your body language, the words you use, the way you express yourself will not be good as well. So it's really important to not only start with a positive mindset, but also find ways along the job search path to be able to maintain and kind of monitor your attitude. Because if you're out casually networking and someone asks you, how's it going? And you kind of look down and you're kind of depressed and you're kind of frustrated, that doesn't always drive people to help you. Sometimes they kind of want to walk away and say, gee, that guy's really having a tough day. So the ability to manage your interactions through being positive, through smiling and having a strong voice, those things really make a big difference in front of networking friends, recruiters, hiring managers. It's all important.
Let's talk a little bit more about that really bad day that people sometimes have during job search. I've been on a job search for 9 months, was the longest. 10 months was the longest that I ever had to search for a job. And, there are good days, there are bad days. The good days, fantastic, but the bad days, how do you get yourself motivated on a bad day? What are your recommendations?
Well, I think it's perspective. I think that you have to recognize that there will be those bad days. And for me, when I was going through my search back in 2007, the worst days were when nothing happened, or I had an expectation that I was going to hear back from an employer, or I just finished a phone interview and was waiting for the call and didn't get anything for a day, a week. And I think you just have to have perspective. You have to realize that the job search market is busier than you are. It's got different focus than you do. I mean, your sole focus is to find a job. And I think the other thing is just to try and pay attention to what I call the small wins. Not every day is going to be full of big wins where you get a job offer or a big connection gets opened up at a target company. But if you pay attention to the little things, meeting somebody at a networking event, really delivering your elevator pitch great one day, I think if you pay attention to those small things, it will allow you to kind of keep the perspective that the good days will come. You just have to be patient.
And you just mentioned networking events. I remember when I went to those events and people asked me, so what do you do? I really had the toughest time saying that, I'm unemployed, I'm in transition, or use some other kind of a euphemism to sort of say, well, I'm looking for a job, because I always felt that if I say that, the person on the other side immediately will think, oh, you're only here to look for a job and that's all you want from me. So how do you get across this stigma of being unemployed during your job search?
Yeah, it's a great question, Cornelius. And it's one that a lot of people ask me. My view on this is that you cannot view yourself as someone who's out of work. The way you view yourself is the same as you always have. You're still who you are. You haven't changed. You're still a project manager. You are still a marketer. You are still a salesperson. You're just not being paid for it right now. And so I think what you say when someone says, what do you do? Is you say, I'm a project manager. Oh, cool. Where do you do that? Well, I'm actually in between jobs right now, but let me tell you a little bit about my job search objectives. So you can very quickly go from telling people who you are and what you are to being able to shift to a very positive, upbeat, but also very specific description of kind of what's happening in your life and what you're looking for. Instead of saying, oh, I'm out of work, it's really tough, boy, is this a bad market? Not everybody reacts well to that. Now, hopefully you have people in your network who are going to see you and want to support you. But the person they want to support is the person they believe can help themselves as well, and the person who provides very specific job search objectives to their network so that people can help you. And that includes target companies, because I can remember companies, but job titles and other things are tougher for me. So that's one of the ways that I suggest people handle it, is just be yourself, tell people what you do, and naturally the conversation will shift to, so where are you doing that now, or who are you with?
All right. We're still in the section Psychology of Job Search here. And one of the chapters that you have in here is The Power of Music. Talk to us a little bit about how you use music in your job search.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite posts that I wrote. And if you go to the post, there's a picture of Buddy Holly. He's one of my favorites. He has a song called Rave On, which is just this really great high energy song. And the way that you can use music during job search is primarily, I think, on the way to an interview, for example. If you are nervous, if you're really tight, you can just feel your muscles gripping. Being able to use music, whether it's a big, loud rock and roll song or a classical music song, something that just helps you kind of just relax. For me, before my last interview, the last time I did interview, it was an AC/DC song, and it was just really big, really loud, and it got me singing, and it got me completely forgetting about this really big, high-pressure job interview that I was going to. So that's one way you can do it, is kind of shake loose your bones a little bit. The other thing you can do is when you are in a need to write, and you need to be thinking, you need to have perspective, there's music you can put on, whether it's Jimmy Cliff or, like I said, a classical music song, something that will kind of allow your mind to work in a different way. You're no longer trying to get up. You're now trying to let your brain work in a very methodical way. So music can kind of play in the background and be able to help you with that. So those are just some examples. But I think that if you're a music lover or if you're not, music can still play a role in kind of calming the savage beast when you're feeling a little out of sorts.
We're moving on to the third section, which is smart networking. Why is networking important?
Gosh, networking for some is a new idea. I wrote an article recently for a local newspaper, and I interviewed 3 people who were out of work for over a year. And 2 of them, I said, so why do you think you've been out of work for over a year? And they said, well, you know what? I just recently learned that I'm supposed to be networking. And I just was completely shocked and floored that you can wait that long to do it. But it is so incredibly important to make sure that you're letting the people around you know your situation, your neighbors, your family, your friends. How many people on your street or in your direct family truly know, number one, that you're out of work, and number 2, specifically what you're looking for? It's just so important today. And there's numbers out there, anywhere between 60 and 75% of the jobs are found via networking. And that can be very casual networking, just communicating your objectives to your banker or your lawyer or anybody that you coordinate on a regular basis with. Or it could be someone in your networking group. It could be a former boss. Pride can get in the way. And if you're not sharing your objectives and you're not telling people that you're in this situation, no one will help you. And it's just not the old way anymore. It's not about resumes. It's not about relying on recruiters. It's about actively sharing your specific objectives with people around you and enabling them to help you through this process.
So we know we have to be networking. And the first chapter in this section is titled 11 Keys to Successful Career Networking. What are your top 2 keys to successful career networking?
This tells a story of this lady, Stacy, that I met. She's a former coworker of mine at Nestle. And she and I got back together after many years of not being connected directly. We got together, she was out of work, and she just absolutely blew me away. And I tell the story in the book about how she did this. First of all, she took me into account. She drove to me. She bought me coffee. She went out of her way to think of ways to make me feel special and important. And it's not about necessarily giving things to or buying things for. It's the idea that you appreciate and understand the time that someone is giving you in networking. So you say thank you. you offer them a nice gift card at the end of your breakfast to say, hey, you know what, I'm really, really, really thankful. So I think one of the key things is to be cognizant and thankful of the time that someone is giving you. The other thing to do is to make sure that you let your network know what exactly you're looking for. And I harp on this continually, because when I ask people, what are you looking for, I tend to get a lot of really vague and long-winded answers. But being that person that can deliver your information to others in a very clear and concise way is just a big part of networking success, because they can't help you if they don't know what you're looking for.
We have another interview already scheduled, and in that second interview, you and I want to talk about career networking with a purpose. So I don't want to get too much into the smart networking here in this interview, but let's close out this third section here of your book, because you also have a chapter in the book that talks about the other side, the other end. So the 9 ways to bruise a networking relationship. Maybe you can talk a little bit here about the 2 worst ways, or the 2 best ways rather, how you can damage a networking relationship, things you should never do.
Yeah. One of the things is to ask for more than you deserve. If you've just met somebody for the first time and you have a nice 5-minute conversation and they say, hey, I know you know Bob over at my target company. Would you mind recommending me to Bob? And my first reaction when people ask me that is no. I mean, no, I won't, because I don't know you. We've talked for 5 minutes. You seem like a nice person. But if you try to use your network beyond the relationship that you have, you can get yourself into trouble. You put people in an uncomfortable situation of trying to recommend you when they don't really know you. They've never worked with you. So it's kind of using your network beyond the level that it is. Here's another one that's really important, is if someone does something nice for you, if you sit down and have a coffee and you agree that I'm going to do something for you and you're going to do something for me, I get my part done and you don't reciprocate our relationship, and I have to remind you 1 or 2 times that, oh, you were going to introduce me to Joe, that gets really frustrating, and that turns me off to my time with you and makes me think, you know what, there might be better people for me to be networking with. So really important to use your networking contacts correctly based on the relationship that you have. And second of all, make sure you reciprocate and do what you say you're going to do for others, because you can really damage your relationships if you don't do those things.
Excellent. Before we move on to the last section in your book, let's talk about your book a little bit from a principal, strategic point of view, because while the book is available on Amazon, and anyone can go to Amazon, look for the book, 30 Ideas, the Ideas of a Successful Job Search by Tim Terrell Smith, and pay $16 to get the book from Amazon, they can just as well go to your website, timstrategy.com, and just download it for free. Now, what's the deal here? Why do you offer it for free on your website, but it's still available at a price on Amazon?
Yeah, it's something I thought really long and hard about, is what's the right thing to do, because the ebook has been out for about a year and it's been on my website and it's been downloaded just a ton of times. And I really wanted that first book to be available for people like that. And when I decided to self-publish the book, the reason I did that was to make sure that the people who are more traditional, perhaps the people who aren't big on blogs, or maybe they're just not comfortable downloading things from the internet. There's a lot of folks in my target audience in the 40 to 55 range that just aren't that comfortable or don't like reading on the computer that much. So getting the book up on Amazon does 2 things. It puts the book in a printed form for people who prefer to have a book in their lap, or maybe to have a book they can mark up. It also makes it Kindle friendly for those of your listeners who are Kindle users. But then I decided, am I going to pull the free ebook down? And I think at the end I just said, you know what, I can't do that, because it's been free already. It's already out there. It's been shared with a lot of people digitally. And I think that in the end, I want more people to read about my ideas and hopefully help more people that way. So for people who can't afford $16, they still have an option out there to be able to download it for free. And I feel really good about that decision.
Excellent. We all thank you for that decision, Tim.
You're very welcome.
Okay, last section of the book is called bonus chapters. And this is also my last question to you here for this interview. In these bonus chapters, you talk about the first 5 minutes and how to kick off a successful job interview. So let's do this. Let's assume that one of our listeners is going in for a job interview tomorrow, or even today, sitting outside in his car, her car right now, waiting to go in. What does she have to do in the first 5 minutes in order to really kick off this interview successfully?
Yeah, this post was motivated by my own experience as a hiring manager for 15 years. And I will tell you that I and a lot of other hiring managers that I know feel like within the first 5 minutes, we can tell whether or not someone's a fit for the job. We've already looked at your resume. We already know your information. We've maybe checked you out on Google. So now it's about fit. And your ability to fit in a company starts the second you walk in the door. The way you treat the person who greets you, the way you treat the HR person, the way you carry yourself, the way you shake hands. And in the first 5 minutes, things that are tells, if you will, to use a poker term, are your handshake, your voice, if it's strong and vibrant versus kind of nervous and stuttering, your ability to walk down the hallway, make eye contact with people, be smiling. If you can be relaxed and confident when you get to the door and when you make that first introduction with the hiring manager, those first moments are incredibly important because eye contact, your voice, your handshake, the way you sit down, the way you sit in the chair and allow yourself to be that strong candidate for the job. There's all these little things that you can do along the way to begin a good interview and to really start off in what I call kind of a conversational form with the interviewer. Starting off with a few questions about how long they've been with the company allows them to see you as a more of a peer versus you as somebody who they're going to be beating over the head with 16 questions over the next 45 minutes. So being relaxed, not desperate, never say things like, boy, I just really need this job. And believe me, I've had people tell me that in the first 5 minutes of an interview. So those are some of the things early on that are some of the really small things, but being able to get those messages across. Some of them are verbal, some of them are nonverbal, really make a difference for an interviewer.
Great recommendations. Once again, the book is called 30 Ideas, the Ideas of Successful Job Search, Practical and Easy-to-Use Tips for the Modern Job Search. You can find the book either on Amazon.com or on timsstrategy.com. Tim, thanks a lot for being here. And that was Tim Terrell-Smith and his 30 ideas for a successful job search. Remember, you can download his book from free on his website, but if you prefer to read it as a hard copy, then why not take a chance and participate in our book giveaway? Just go to facebook.com/PM podcast and look for the announcement with the book giveaway. And just add a comment. It doesn't matter what you write in your comment in order to get a chance to win. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. As always, you can find us on the web at pm-podcast.com. If you are a PMP or a PGMP and you're looking for a simple and effective way to earn your PDUs, then why not do it with a podcast? Try our sister podcast, the PDU Podcast. Get a new webinar and at least one new PDU every month on autopilot. Stop by at pducast.com. That's pducast.com. Please send your emails to info@pm-podcast.com, and when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this. If ignorance is bliss, then I finally understand why my project sponsor has that silly grin on his face. Until next time.